Welcome to another exciting episode of the Million Dollar Peddlers. I'm Papergoy, and I wanted to do a quick little video about Whatnot and some of the problems that I see with it. Now, let me tell you right off, I do love the site. I do sell on there 4 p.m. Tuesdays, all times Eastern. I sell Ephemera. 4 p.m. Thursdays, I sell books. I do okay. I'm certainly not getting rich, but I'm able to move a lot of inventory and I do have a lot of fun doing it. So let me get that out of the way first. So I am still a proponent of the site. A couple of other things. They've definitely improved in a lot of ways. It looks like they appear to be working on and fixing the shipping issues as far as the cost to the buyers. So that's a positive thing. They've introduced media mail. There are options for priority flat rate, and even overall, the prices for priority seem reasonable now. So that definitely will help in the long term as well. And the site is nowhere near as glitchy as it used to be. And it's actually able to be used on the desktop now. Whereas when it first came out, or when a lot of people started using it, it was very heavy iPhone, Apple type stuff. Now, if you have an Android, you're no longer basically stuck with a poor product. It actually does work. So I wanted to say those positive things. I like the site. I sell on there. Do check me out, Papergoy, over on Whatnot. That being said, big news kind of rocked the Whatnot community as far as Primetime Treasure Hunter, good friend of the channel. He's had us on a couple of times. Great guy. And in fact, he's got a site, Facebook group, Whatnot for resellers, that if you haven't checked it out yet, you definitely should if you have any interest at all in Whatnot. He's actually walked away, at least short term, from selling, as is his wife, Mrs. Primetime, who was doing jewelry, and he was doing comic books. And I talked with him, and he offered to come on our channel. I definitely do appreciate that. We're really not a interview type channel. He's welcome anytime if he really wants to come on, but he just kind of said, if you want me to talk about it, I will. Going to have him on at some point, but this is his story to tell, so we'll let him tell it over on his channel as to all the reasons why he walked away. But basically, he's got a much bigger presence than we have, and he was only getting 10 people or so in a comic book auction, despite advertising it on the Whatnot for resellers, which is the biggest Whatnot Facebook page. He advertises on Instagram, advertised it over on his channel, and he was still only getting 10 people. That being said, what chance does somebody rather like me, who's got far fewer followers, have? My book and ephemera auctions, on a good one, I might get 15 people in there. Usually it's between 5 to 10 people regularly. Now, of course, if they're active, it doesn't matter. You just need 2 people. That being said, it is difficult. And he was selling in comics, which is a very, very difficult thing to sell in. But he walked away from it. And he and I were talking, and I've given this a lot of thought, and hopefully Whatnot sees this. They do need to fix some things. The number one biggest problem, and this is going to sound really crazy until you delve into it, is the deals are too great. And by that, I mean, you can come by my auction and spend $3 and pick up 3 to 5 pieces of ephemera that you can sell for $10 to $15 a piece. You're picking up $40-50 worth of stuff for $3 plus shipping. That's great. I mean, it really, truly is a great deal for you as the buyer. However, most of the people on there are buying to resell. And herein lies the problem. You come by my auction, you spend $100, you get a lot of great stuff. You hold your auction. I come by it. Now, out of that $100, I get $85 or so after fees. I spend my $85 on stuff from you. You get $72. You come by my auction to spend the $72. Eventually, the money runs out because the deals are so good, but it seems to be the same core group of people buying from everybody. And everybody's just kind of going around and buying from each other. None of us have the ability to be able to sell everything that we're sourcing from the site. What the site needs to do, it needs to bring in more end users. There are an awful lot of dealers and resellers on there, which is great. I mean, they're willing to buy the stuff, but they can't get rid of the stuff fast enough. And I've talked to 2 or 3 different resellers who've said, look, I'm not on there anymore. I can't move the stuff that I'm buying fast enough. There's so many good deals on there, I can't move it fast enough. So what they definitely need to do as a site is get more end users. Because when you've got a limited number of people just keep buying and flipping to each other, that doesn't work so well in the long term because eventually the money runs out as far as that goes. Um, and another problem in the early days of eBay, now I go back to 1998 being on eBay and, really starting to sell 2002. You would go around to sales, be it a garage sale, be it an estate sale, an auction, and all you would hear would people talking about it. Everyone was like, oh, you sell on eBay. Oh, I sell on eBay. Oh, yeah, I just started selling on eBay. Oh, I'm making money over on eBay. And that was all you heard. eBay, 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 eBay. In fact, there was a board game. There were all kinds of different things. And it basically, the editorial cartoons, the comic strips of the day, all that would reference eBay. And it basically just became part of culture at that point. Everybody was talking about eBay. Nobody's talking about Whatnot beyond the select group that know about it. I've mentioned it to any number of people when I'm out at sales, and I get this blank look, and nobody really knows the site. And that's where Whatnot really needs to advertise out. Now, maybe it's different in sports cards. Maybe it's different in Funko Pops, Hot Wheels, something like that. I don't know. I basically have sold in comics and I sell in ephemera and books. But in those areas, they're not reaching the end users. And that is something or other they definitely have to do to kind of get some buzz about the site. I know it's a younger crowd is what they're oriented toward, but that's not going to last long term. Basically, the attention span of a lot of the young people is short, and I'm not speaking poorly about them. We were the same way when we were young. We're not fully developed. Our attention span isn't completely there. And we didn't have the distractions of the cell phone, and we weren't raising that kind of stuff. So we at least had some level of attention. They just don't have it now. And it's, not their fault. It's just the way things are. It'll be flavor of the minute. It'll be flavor of the month, as they say, and people will move on. You can't run a business being the hot new hype forever. You just cannot. You definitely need to appeal to older people as well. And again, there are a lot of older people, such as myself, over in the ephemera category because Random Neighborhood Kid, who helps us out on the channel here, he's not particularly interested in Victorian scrap. He's just not. His no interest at all in it. Now, he may be interested in music. He may be interested in something else. He's not going to buy a Victorian scrap. But they need to maybe work, yes, it's great. You got the hot new wrapper on and that draws attention. But I think you also need to work the other side where you get the postcard people, the big postcard people, and make a big splash in those areas as well. Almost like you're marketing to two different groups, because it's not like the person that comes in wanting Victorian scraps is necessarily going to go over to the wrappers. When the wrapper is over, they're doing a box opening or something like that. They're two different groups, so you can do two different marketing strategies as far as that goes, all underneath the main umbrella. The other biggest problem that I see with the site, and eBay and most sites had this problem when they started out, is it's kind of the Wild West. And it's got the reputation, at least among people, of kind of being lawless. And you can't be like that because in the long run, if you want to make it, you definitely have to follow all the rules and you have to clamp down on people and be no fun. It's just the way things work. But there has to be some level of trust. And Whatnot does not have that trust at this point. And this is a two-parter. Number one part, from talking with a couple of different people, I'm not allowed to drink on camera. I'm assuming it means alcohol because I do drink water on camera. Please don't ban me. And I'm not allowed to smoke on camera. However, from what I've heard, apparently some of the rap stars, I'm just using that because that was the example that was used, will be smoking blunts on camera. Well, there's a bit of a problem that if they're doing that when it's against the terms of service. Similarly, we're not allowed to play music at this point unless you own copyright, which is absolutely fair. That's the law. However, apparently some of the bigger users do so, and there's no repercussions, which of course is opening Whatnot up to some level of liability, which I've said all along. You've got to kind of have a fair playing field. If somebody is allowed to smoke pot on camera, I should be allowed to smoke cigarettes or vape on camera, even though I don't do so, and I would not obviously do so just to do so. But it has to be standard rules. Either you can or you can't. Not, well, you can and this person can't. That's not really right. And it kind of flies in the face of of being right, as far as the rules go. You have to have the rules applied across everybody. Um, and the other thing, it's fine to be cool. It's fine to go after the hip crowd and all that sort of thing. I have no problem at all with that. But there are videos out there that you can find, and this is a big issue, and it hurts trust. And that has to do with some of the breaks. And if you're not familiar with breaks, what it is I've got a box of the new cards. I'm going to open it up on camera at all times you see the box. I open it up, and people buy into the break. And I guess you buy, I've never done one, so I'm not 100% sure, but I guess you buy a certain team or whatnot. Um, and I open it up on camera, and you get the cards that come out of it within whatever group you bought for. So if you have the Yankees and I open it up and there's a Derek Jeter card in there, you would get the Derek Jeter or Aaron Judge or whoever it is, and so on across there. Well, the problem is a couple of group breakers have opened cards on camera, came across a really, really good card. And I'm talking, I believe I saw one of them was like a $40,000 card, and didn't send it out. And that's terrible. That's absolutely terrible. I'm certain that's 100% illegal. And they have it in a HOD and whatever, and they're still doing breaks. Well, that is where Whatnot needs to step in. Assuming those are true, which again, you can find the videos yourself on them. Assuming those are true, Whatnot needs to step in. Now, I know Napster and Metallica had an issue years and years ago, and Metallica took a lot of grief for, suing its users and all that kind of stuff, its fans. Whatnot has to accept some bad publicity and do what it has to do. In a case like that, it needs to go after the breaker and not only kick them off the site if it turns out they didn't send what they needed to send, but also pursue legal action against the breaker. Period. End of story. If you pay me, and again, I don't know the prices on breaks, but if you pay me $500 to be in on a break, let's say, and you get a $40,000 card and I don't send it to you, there's a big issue. And me as the buyer, I'm going to be completely turned off on the site because I'm going to say I want a $40,000 card and I never got it. And yes, I'm going to blame the person who did the break, but I'm also going to blame the site. And the site didn't stand behind it. The site did not help me. And that's where the site needs to get in and find out what the applicable laws are, help law enforcement. And at that point, if that means fines, jail time, and the like for the person breaking, not sending the card out, so be it. One or two cases like that, and one of two things is going to happen. Either people aren't going to be doing breaks on there, or people will make sure that they send them out, because that's almost like a rigged game, certainly, as far as that goes. If I know I'm doing the break and I'm getting minimum $500, and anything above a certain amount, I just pocket and don't send out, that's certainly not building trust. And that leaves out all of the other things that go on there with mystery grab bags and sweepstakes where only certain people can win. And I know Whatnot has tried to crack down on that, and there's only so many hours in a day, and there's only so many things that they can do. But there are greater laws in this country, and Whatnot is not a law unto itself. And I know they understand this, and I know they're working to clean up the site, but they definitely do need to do so, A, to build trust among users, and B, if they're ever going to move up to the other level, a higher level, and be anything other than a niche site, they have to follow the rules, period, end of story, as do the users. And if the users on there are skirting the law, they need to be dealt with and kicked off. I hate to say that, but it's absolutely true. And they may take a bit of a dip in numbers for some period of time, but in the end, it would be more than made up for with some good advertising and alike by building the trust and having more end users. And that's really what it all comes down to, is if you have more people at every auction bidding on items, prices will go up, because that's another reason why various people have quit the site as well, is that they can't make the money they can make elsewhere. Well, that's absolutely true. The site's not set up for you to make the same amount of money. Part of it is the fact you can move product quickly versus getting, the short nickel versus a long dime. It's a short nickel site, generally speaking, and that's absolutely fine. They're working to make it kind of a long dime site as well by having a marketplace and that. And I see where they're moving. I think it's great that they're moving there. And eventually, I think as long as they can stay around, it's going to be a very, very good site. But they definitely do need to make some changes in the short term, which come up to cleaning up the site, building trust in the site, and getting more people on there. And I think if they do that, I think it's a very viable site. I think it's a fun site to do, no doubt whatsoever about it. I've had a lot of fun on there in the past year selling. Look forward to selling for many, many more years. I've got some great ideas for what I want to do over there. Um, but I need more than the same, and nothing against my regulars. I love every one of you, and I'm glad that you do show up, but I need more than just the 8 to 10 regulars showing up at every auction. I need to be up at 25, 30, 40 people. And some of that's on me. I have to draw the audience in. I do understand that. No problem at all. Trying to do my part as well, but Whatnot has to be my partner in that as well. And the more people they can bring in, and again, you don't need to just advertise for Funko Pops. You don't need to just advertise for comic books. You can also do a separate advertising campaign for the other stuff. I don't know if they're advertising in trade journals or not. I don't know if they're advertising, antique trade or things like that, but certainly spend some money advertising, get people to know the site, but you probably need to clean up the site first before you do that, because you don't want my mother coming on the site and getting scammed by somebody, or just seeing, people over there swearing left and right and saying, what is this site? I don't want anything at all to do with it. And again, I don't think a lot of people in the ephemera category are, dope smoking loudmouths. I think that tends to be the, 18 to 25-year-old demographic, which again, they're different demographics. That's fine. And to Whatnot's credit, they do have a thing on there where you can check a box if you're going to have explicit language. Absolutely fine, as long as there's a warning on there so my mother doesn't stumble across that. But if she were to stumble across that, that would turn her off to the site forever. Because my mom's a prude, but that's a whole nother story. So hopefully that helps you a little bit understanding the site. Hopefully Whatnot does see this and take some of this under advisement. Certainly if they want to reach out to me, I'm more than willing to talk to them one-on-one. If you could do me the favor of hitting the like button, I definitely would appreciate it. Come on by Whatnot, though. Give it a try. You'll have a lot of fun coming by the Papergoy auctions every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern for ephemera, every Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern for books. So give it a try if you haven't already. It's better than it was. I will give them that. There's still some steps that need to be taken. See you next video.